Beck and welcome to my April to be read plans. I have a few rereads on this month and then some new releases, and also a random title came in on Libby, so I'm keen to borrow that from my library. So without further ado, let's get into what I currently plan to be reading during April. It all could be thrown out the window, you never know. But these are my plans so far, and that would be to continue the Trials of Apollo series. So right now I'm filming this at the end of March and I'm listening to the audiobook for The Burning Maze, and this is book 3 out of 5 books in the Trials of Apollo series. Like its name suggests, it's about Apollo, the god of art and music, and he gets thrown out of Olympus by Zeus, turned into a 16-year-old boy named Lester Papadopoulos, and Lester is tasked with restoring all of the oracles that for some reason aren't working. So all of the Percy Jackson characters in the previous 2 series, they don't have access to any prophecies anymore, and prophecies guide their quests and help them save the world. So it's kind of a problem if there's no oracles and there's no heroes helping out. So that's what Apollo is set out to do. The tone in these is questionable at times because, you know, Apollo used to be a god. So he's relinquishing that ego and becoming more emotionally settled and connected to the characters that we know and love, and some recurring characters too, which I'm quite enjoying about this one in particular. So I have to be in a particular mood to listen to this and to pay attention to it and to take it seriously, because sometimes Apollo is just a bit much to me. But other times I'm in the right mood and I do enjoy it, because Rick Riordan tends to tell these stories really quickly. They're always very fast paced, but that doesn't mean that they leave the characters behind. The characters very much keep up, they have conversations, they feel their feelings, and I just like this series a lot, which is why I'm rereading it. So the continuation of this series, if I'm not done with The Burning Maze, is The Tyrant's Tomb. So I'll be either reading this on audio or The Tyrant's Tomb on audio come the beginning of April. The other audiobook that I mentioned that has come up from Libby is called City of Gods and Monsters, and this just piqued my interest, and it had come out like 2 years ago or something, and it says Lauren Kaller has only ever been ordinary. As a human struggling to survive in a city that caters to the needs of vampires, werewolves, witches, and other supernatural creatures, she always assumed her life would remain simple, predictable, and as safe as the world would allow. How can it allow for being safe when there are all those creatures? Anyway, it says, until she barely escapes abduction at the hands of dark slayers, supernatural bounty hunters that possess the sight, a magical tracking ability that allows them to see a person's aura, and one of her friends is taken in her place. And then we get the male perspective, and it says the abductors are demanding a ransom, Lauren's life in exchange for her friend's safe return. Lauren will do whatever it takes to get her friend back, even if it means accepting help from Darian Cassell, the leader of the Seven Devils, the most feared dark-slaying circle in the city. Darian specializes in tracking down demons and criminals that are better off dead than alive, so when he takes a job to track down Lauren and finds out she is human and couldn't hurt a fly if her life depended on it, he decides to protect her instead of turn her in for a reward. So it sounds like 2 reluctant characters building an alliance and a trust and then a romance potentially, because that's usually how these stories go. But I'm looking forward to the mystery, I'm looking forward to the relationship, the butting heads, I'm looking forward to the world building because it sounds perfectly supernatural and very much like it will be very entertaining. So I've got that one to try, and I'm borrowing it from Libby because it means if I don't like it I can just easily return it for someone else to try it. So that is very much on my radar and has been for a little while, so I'm very happy that it's come up on Libby. Next up we have a bit of a vast pivot from like supernatural elements and murder mystery into a middle grade, so a kid's book, and that is Wondersmith, which is the sequel to Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, and this series follows Morrigan Crow. She's 11 at the beginning of Nevermore, the first book, and she is a cursed child. So on the day that her curse is going to come to call, the day that she's effectively going to die, she gets swept away by Jupiter North, who is a magician of the Wondrous Society, and they go through the face of a clock, through a portal in the land of Nevermore, to the Free State instead of remaining in the Republic. And the Republic is supposedly comprised of 4 states, and Nevermore is the 5th Free State, but it's not very widely known, and that's because it's very well protected, and Morrigan is there by Jupiter because he wants her to join the Wondrous Society and become a candidate in these trials. So the first book really addresses the trials, and now we are further into Morrigan's story, and I liked my revisit of the first book. I think I gave it 3.5 to 4 stars. It was a great time, it was very descriptive, it was magical and whimsical in the sense that middle grade is supposed to be, so I really enjoyed my reread, and I'm keen to continue my reread because the 4th book in this series that we've felt like we've been waiting years for is coming out at the end of April, I think the 25th. So I might not get to Silverborn, which is the 4th book, at the end of April, but I do plan to read this one. And then the 3rd book, Hollowpox, as well, before the end of April, so that I'm well caught up in time to start the 4th book as it is released, because I probably won't get it immediately as it comes out, but I do plan to continue the series, so it will be something that I get eventually, and being caught up on this series is probably a good idea before that happens, given the time gap between the publication of these. It's like the author took a bit of a break between writing these and has finally come back. I don't know how long the series is going to be. The 4th book I don't think is the last one. So, I'm going to be caught up and it's going to be a good time. And then speaking of being caught up in series, I put this down during March because I very much got sidetracked, and that is Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. I've read 50 pages of this. I plan to have read a little bit more before this video goes live, so hopefully I will have made a little bit of headway because I love this series, and it follows Fitz, who is the bastard son of the royal line, and he's very much cast off from his father Chivalry, who leaves the court in a scandal, and he's taken in by Borich, who is the stable master. And this happens to Fitz because they can't really let him go because he's a threat to the royal line, so they try and take him under their wing instead, and as he grows up they train him up. So because he's very much got his duty to the throne, that coincides a lot with his personal aspirations, and sometimes those things are in line and sometimes they're not. So you look at the development of this character and honestly it feels like I could go to Buckkeep. Like the castle, the environment, the food that Cook makes, the way that Fitz lives and is involved in the skill and the wit magic in this world, which are like mental magics. It all just feels so coalesced and real to me that I just love reading this. The emotions are so present in this story as well, and I just adore seeing Fitz's journey. Does it destroy me? Yes, it does. Will I continue reading anyway? Yes. The first 50 pages already made me want to cry from anguish because Fitz is just such a tortured character. He's like the tragedy or the trauma of the chosen one trope, and Robin Hobb is so careful and succinct in how she writes that and how his emotions are a fallout of how he's been treated. It's just beautiful and incredible, and I love it so much. So if I haven't sold Robin Hobb to you, I don't know why you haven't started her yet, because she's incredible. So I am looking forward to continuing this one if my physical reading permits, because last month I got sidetracked in 2 reading vlogs by a different book series and I was reading that physically, so I put this down for a while. So hopefully during April I can pick it back up again. I will do my TBR generator, like my number generator pick, last in this video, but before I get on to doing that, I've got one new release coming out in April that I haven't talked about yet, and that is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. And I've had ups and downs with Emily Henry. I've given some of her books 2 stars, I've given some of them 4.5 stars, so it's a real mixed bag, but I decided to pre-order her new audiobook on Audible because I thought I'm going to give her a try, because I've had pretty consistent enjoyments from her and only 1 2 stars. So that tells me that usually she writes a story that I can get behind. And this one is almost reminiscent of the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, in the sense that these 2 authors are going to this old house, I think, and interviewing this renowned woman there who used to be a celebrity, but no one knows her life story. But both of the characters have signed an NDA. So they're only receiving pieces of her story, and because of the NDA, they can't share the pieces together. So whenever these 2 characters are in a room together, they've got this like building tension and attraction to each other, but they're also there to do their job as well. Ultimately, I'm just looking forward to the yearning, because I think Emily Henry writes characters so well in that sense. They feel fully formed, although I do hate it when they don't communicate and the negative aspects of the relationship are put off until the very last act before everything comes out of the bag and then they deal with it then. I'd rather things come up throughout the story and that be what drives the character development. So we'll see if I end up liking this one a lot, because I feel a little bit of trepidation after not liking Happy Place by Emily Henry, but I've loved Funny Story and Beach Read. So I'm hoping that this one is good as well. And now I am scared because we are on to the last book in this to be read video, and that is my TBR number generator pick, and I really hope it's not cruel to me. Like, I've got the binding on here, the first binding, which is 800 pages, and I want to read Hob, and I want to read the rest of the Morrigan Crow series, so I've got my physical reading booked. I'm booked and busy for reading during April, and so if it picks that one, I'm just gonna cry. But okay, the TBR number generator, what does it mean? So I've got 8 books on my to be read pile. These ones here, so the 3 physical reads, and then I've got a little post-it note of the audiobooks as well that are on my TBR. So when I do the number generator, it's between 1 and 8, and it will randomly generate 1. I'll count it out and then I'll show you. So here we go. Oh, it did 5, which definitely skips the first binding. Okay, let me count 5. Obviously, we've got the first 3 here, and then the 5th one will be an audiobook. So the 5th one is The Silver Blood Promise, which is an audiobook that I have been really excited to read. Although, given that I've got a almost supernatural fantasy on my to be read pile, and I'm going to be physically reading a Robin Hobb book, which is very heavy fantasy, I've now got another fantasy audiobook to read. So I'm freaking out a little bit, but I think The Silver Blood Promise will be worth the freak out. I've been eyeing it off every time I go into a bookstore. Something is tempting me to buy it, and I'm like, no, I've got it on audiobook. It will be fine. To read you a quick synopsis, it says Lucan Gardova, which is already a sick name, is a card-sharp academy dropout and, thanks to a duel that ended badly, the disgraced heir to an ancient noble house. I already love this guy. His days consist of cheap wine, rigged card games, and wondering how he might win back the life he threw away. When Lucan discovers that his estranged father has been murdered in a strange circumstance, he finds fresh purpose. Deprived of his chance to make amends for his mistakes, he vows to unravel the mystery behind his father's death. His search for answers leads him to Safrona, a fabled city of merchant princes, where anything can be bought if one has the coin. Lucan only seeks the truth, but instead he finds danger and secrets in every shadow. For in Safrona, everything has a price and the truth is the deadliest of all. I am so keen for this, although it's in a similar vein to the City of Gods and Monsters book, in the sense that there is like a magical city, there has been a murder, he's trying to solve it, but because it's one character and he's a bit of a unwilling hero, I guess, and an underdog, I'm looking forward to him trying to figure stuff out. I'm just excited. That sounds great. So I've now had my excitement renewed for that book, and here's hoping that I end up really liking it, because if I do, I can actually go out and buy the physical copy, because that would be nice. I love hauling books. I just don't do it very much. But that is my April to be read pile. Let me know if you've got any of these books on your TBR, if you've read them, or if you've got other stuff on your TBR. I would love to know. I always am keen for recommendations, but thank you so much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.